You think I forgot about you? 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, wondering why everyone else's prayers get answered except yours. I heard every single one. I was there when you whispered, "Why me?" into a pillow soaked with tears you didn't want anyone to see. I was there. And tonight, I'm not letting you believe that lie for one more second, that I left you. Stay with me for the next few minutes. What I'm about to tell you is going to change the way you look at every closed door, every silent night, every prayer that felt like it went nowhere. There was a woman named Naomi who used to sit in her car in a parking lot before work, just to cry where nobody could see her. She'd done everything right. Prayed the prayers. Read the verses. Showed up to church with a smile stitched on like a costume. But underneath that smile was a woman who felt completely abandoned. Her marriage had fallen apart 2 years earlier. Her son had stopped calling. Her body was tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. And every night in the dark she asked the same question. God, are you even listening to me? I want you to hear this the way Naomi eventually heard it, because I'm not just telling you her story tonight. I'm telling you yours. You've been carrying something heavy for so long you've forgotten what it feels like to walk without the weight. Maybe it's a marriage falling apart in slow motion. Maybe it's a diagnosis that changed everything the second the doctor said the words. Maybe it's a child who won't speak to you anymore, or a bank account that keeps hitting zero no matter how hard you work, or a grief so deep you've stopped trying to explain it because people just don't get it. And somewhere in the middle of all that, you started wondering if I'm even paying attention. If your prayers are just words floating into an empty sky. Let me tell you something plainly because you need it plain tonight. I have never once looked away from you. Not for a second. Isaiah 49 verse 15 says, "Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has born? Though she may forget, I will not forget you." I don't forget. I can't forget you. You're not a stranger to me. You're not an afterthought. I formed you with my own hands, and I knew you before your mother even knew your name. Naomi didn't understand this at first. She figured that because nothing had changed, I must be silent. The marriage didn't repair itself overnight. Her son didn't call the next morning. The bills didn't magically disappear. So in her mind, that meant her prayers were falling on deaf ears. But here's what she couldn't see in that season. She didn't see the friend I was already preparing to send her, the one who'd sit with her in that same parking lot months later and just say, "I'm not going anywhere. Let's carry this together." She didn't see the job quietly taking shape behind the scenes, because a woman she'd helped years earlier remembered her kindness and put her name forward for a position she never even applied to. She couldn't see any of it, because pain has a way of narrowing your vision until all you can see is the wall in front of you instead of the door forming right beside it. This is what I need you to understand tonight. Waiting is not the same as absence. Silence is not the same as abandonment. Just because you can't see my hand moving doesn't mean it stopped working. Romans 8 verse 28 says, "I work all things together for good, for those who love me, who are called according to my purpose." All things. Not just the easy ones. The ones breaking your heart right now too. Some of you aren't just tired. You're exhausted in a way sleep can't touch. You've prayed until you ran out of words. You've gone to church and raised your hands while your chest felt like a stone. You've smiled at people who asked how you're doing because telling the truth felt like too much. I see you. I see the version of you nobody else sees. The one who cries in the shower so the water covers the sound. The one scrolling old photos at midnight wondering where it all went wrong. The one who's quietly started believing maybe good things just don't happen to people like you. That's not true. It's never been true. And tonight I'm here to interrupt that lie before it settles any deeper. Naomi's story didn't end in that parking lot. 6 months after the hardest season of her life, she stood in a small church basement holding a microphone, telling a room full of strangers how close she'd come to giving up. The nights she screamed into her pillow. The mornings she didn't want to get out of bed. The moment she almost stopped believing I was real at all. And then she told them what happened next. Her son called, not because she convinced him to, but because something in his heart softened at exactly the right time, in a way she could never have manufactured herself. The job came through, not the one she thought she wanted, but a better one, one that used gifts in her that had been sitting dormant for years. And the loneliness that had wrapped around her like fog slowly lifted, replaced by people who walked with her instead of just past her. She said something to that room I want you to hear right now, wherever you're listening from. "I thought God was silent. I didn't realize he was building something I couldn't see yet." That's exactly what I'm doing in your life right now. Even in this moment, even as you listen with tired eyes, even as you wonder if anything's actually going to change. I'm building. I'm moving people into position. I'm softening hearts that seem hardened. I'm opening doors that look permanently shut. I'm rearranging things you can't even track from where you're standing. You don't need to see it to trust it's happening. Hebrews 11 verse 1 says faith is confidence in what we hope for, assurance about what we don't see. The waiting season isn't empty, it's under construction behind a curtain you haven't been allowed to look behind yet. I know that's hard to believe when you're still inside the pain, not looking back at it like Naomi eventually did. It's easier to trust this when someone else is telling their testimony than when you're living your own unfinished one. So let me speak to you the way I spoke to my people over and over when they felt abandoned in the wilderness. Deuteronomy 31 verse 8. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. Not might be with you. Not will check in occasionally. Will be with you. Present tense. Right now. Wherever you're sitting or lying down or driving while you listen to this. I didn't bring you this far to abandon you here. Think about everything you've already survived. Situations that felt impossible 5 years ago. Heartbreak you thought you'd never recover from. Loss that felt like it would end you. You're still here. Still breathing. Still fighting for a future you can't fully see yet. That didn't happen by accident. That happened because I was carrying pieces of you even when you felt like you were carrying everything alone. Think about a seed planted deep in the ground. From where you're standing above the soil, nothing looks like it's happening. No movement. No sign of life. Nothing to point to as proof that growth is underway. But underneath that dark, quiet dirt, the seed is splitting open. Roots are stretching down, searching for water, anchoring into the earth so that when the stem finally breaks the surface, it's strong enough to hold against the wind. If you dug that seed up too early because you got impatient with the silence, you'd destroy the very thing you were waiting to see. That's what's happening in your life right now. The waiting isn't nothing. It's root work. And root work is never wasted, even when it's invisible. Think about Joseph for a second. Sold by his own brothers. Dragged into slavery. Falsely accused. Forgotten in a prison cell for years after doing the right thing. If anyone had a reason to believe he'd been abandoned, it was him. 13 years passed between the dream I gave him as a boy and the day it actually came true. 13 years of silence, betrayal, unanswered questions. But Genesis 39 verse 21 says that even in that prison I was with him. I showed him kindness. I wasn't absent during the delay, I was present in the pit, present in slavery, present in that cell, quietly positioning him for a moment he couldn't yet imagine. When it finally came, Joseph didn't say those years were wasted. He said what was meant for evil I turned into good to save many lives. Your 13 years might look different, 13 months, 13 weeks, 13 sleepless nights, but the principle's the same. I don't waste seasons. I redeem them. I know it's hard to hold on to that when your bank account is empty and the bills keep coming, or the phone doesn't ring with the call you've been praying for, or the test results aren't what you hoped. I'm not asking you to pretend the pain isn't real. I'm not asking you to fake a smile you don't feel. Even I wept at a tomb I already knew I was about to reopen because grief is real, and I never asked you to skip past it. What I'm asking is that in the middle of that very real pain, you leave a little room for the possibility that I'm doing something you can't measure yet. I also want to say something to those of you who've started pulling away, stopped answering messages, told yourself it's easier to carry this alone than risk being misunderstood. I get why you did that. But isolation was never my design for you. Even in the wilderness, I placed people around my people. Even Elijah, in his darkest moment, sitting under a tree wishing he could die, wasn't left there alone. I sent someone to feed him and then sent him toward Elisha, someone to walk the rest of the road with him. You're allowed to let people in. You're allowed to be helped. Strength was never about how well you suffer in silence. And the timing you're anxious about isn't the same as the timing I'm working within. 1,000 years to you can feel like a lifetime of waiting, but to me it's like a single day. That's not to make your pain feel small. It's to remind you I'm not bound by the clock that has you checking your phone, refreshing your email, watching for a sign something's about to shift. I'm already standing in the moment your breakthrough arrives, even while you're still standing in the moment of waiting. Both are real to you. Only one of them is final. You are not forgotten. You are not too far gone. You are not the exception to my promises. Whatever you're walking through right now, whatever kept you up last night, whatever silent tears you've wiped away when nobody was looking, I saw every one of them. And I'm not finished with your story. Psalm 34 verse 18, The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Close. Not distant. Not far off watching from somewhere comfortable. Close enough to catch every tear. Close enough to hear every whispered prayer you thought was too small, too messy, too repetitive to matter. Before you go tonight, do something with me. Wherever you are, say these words out loud, even just a whisper. I'm not forgotten. I'm not abandoned. God is working even when I can't see it. Say it again if you need to. Let it settle into the places that have been holding fear for far too long.